4th down, the final
What's
play.
up? Here we go.
Unless they can stick it in the end zone. Dorsey under pressure, throws it. Incomplete. The Buckeyes win. Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
Feature the two backs as receivers, and now a downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Making adjustments again, and there is Smith running free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards. Pressure comes. Shaw, knock it out, and picks it up. Jack Shaw coming down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
Here they come.
Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. And Smith, he's got it. Jeremiah Smith. 2025 college football national champion, Coach Ryan Day, and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Welcome in, Buckeye backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enid, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve. Welcome in, Buckeye backers. It is time to get excited about football. We are 53 days away from Ohio State playing its first game, and I think that makes us somewhere around 45 days. No, less than that. 41 days away from college football in general. Can't wait. We got to get this stuff started. We got media days coming up in 2 weeks. It's going to be exciting, man. It's going to be exciting. It's time to get this boat rowing. So, now I sound like someone else in the Big Ten. I can't say rowing the boat. How you doing, Seattle, Matt? How you been?
Doing all right. Recharged the battery, ready for a season to get going. So
For sure. And, man, there's so much that happened while we were out. I first got to just start with being excited. Look at this. The highest rated players in college football 2026, and just so happened to be the PFF top 50 players, 2 of them coming back, one on offense, one on defense. There's a lot to be excited for, Buckeye Nation. So glad we get to watch these guys play again together. The best on defense, the best on offense. We got it. Any comments on that?
played last night, and I'll tell you right now, Texas is, at least in the video game, very formidable, but you throw the ball anywhere near Jeremiah, he catches it. And anybody who's a college football fan, you're a video game fan, I highly recommend getting the game. The gameplay is surreal. It's not anything like I've ever seen in any college football video game, where you don't see that classic like 4-3 lineup where they're conventional, at least with the Texas game. They were all moving around, walking around. You had no idea what their coverage was. It was so game-like. It was an incredible game. I only played one game, but I would highly recommend checking that game out, because I thought that the gameplay was the most realistic to a football game you will ever see.
Absolutely. And just like in real life, you cannot guard Jeremiah Smith. Can't guard him. Just throw the ball up to him. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. It can be Keenholz. It can be Sane. Doesn't matter. Either one of them, throw the ball up, get it to number 4 as many times a game as you can. Get the ball in that boy's hands, and let's start the Heisman campaign right now.
Let's do it.
It's about to go. Let's start this Heisman campaign. Jeremiah Smith for Heisman. Everyone plaster it everywhere, all over social media, wherever you can. All right. We just need Ohio State to get behind us too. Prop this dude up. Let's go. You got to have some marketing coming.
The nation knows him. He's
absolutely. Yeah, household name. Everywhere you go, everyone wants to be Jeremiah Smith. The kids playing in the backyard, they're Jeremiah Smith right now, for sure, 100%. But hey, man, people are complaining about recruiting. Just take a look at this, man. Right now, we're sitting at number 6. Number 6, 21 recruits. Our star ranking is up there, 92.27. That's like 4th, I believe. but it's not done yet. Not done yet at all. And we got some stuff we got to get into a little bit later on. Let's just get into it now. All these teams are throwing a bunch of fake money around right now just because they wanted to get in everything right before that July 1st deadline. Throw as much money as they can. You look at SC on top. You know it. Everyone's heard it. They're throwing around money just for recruits to commit, loading it up front. Some of that's going to backfire. I like Ohio State's approach here, and I think there's good reason for it. First of all, you're Ohio State. You don't reach on anyone. You don't throw out money to unproven guys. I mean, they're giving their money out. Don't get me wrong, but they don't need to throw out money. They're not building a program like SC. They're not building a program like Texas Tech. They're not building the program back up like Michigan, right? They can throw the money around at unknown commodities. Yeah, maybe they're projected by 24/7 by all these other outlets, all these media guys. But you know what? Who knows if they're going to fizzle out? And if they fizzle out, that's a lot of money you're wasting. Like, that's a bad investment. Any thoughts on that?
A lot of thoughts. I'd say first off, I take rankings in the summertime with a grain of salt, because you'll see a lot of these. If you have some 3-stars in there, you're looking at it, you got 5 3-stars. There's nothing that says they don't have a great senior year and they're bumping up to 4 stars, or 4 stars to 5 stars, or the other way around. So rankings here are a little suspect, but I think, again, what you're seeing grab the headlines. You're seeing Ojo with Texas Tech, right? You're seeing other recruits getting big paydays. You're not coming. Ohio State should not and is not going after the players who want the highest dollar amount. And that's not the type of player you want. You come to Ohio State, you're going to make some good money as a freshman if you're 5-star, 4-star talented, but you're going to earn that next paycheck, which is your sophomore year, your junior year. And ultimately, what you're trying to earn is that first-round pick in the NFL draft. That's what you come to Ohio State for, to play in national championships and to be a first-round talent. So you're seeing a lot of the headlines going to these kids grabbing money. Great, Texas Tech. Great, Michigan. Great other places. Go buy these kids. That tells me that maybe football may not be your first love. And right now, when you come to Ohio State, you need to eat, drink, and sleep football, and you need to earn that next paycheck, which is your sophomore year. So I have no problem with Ohio State's approach. I find it refreshing. And you're really not seeing Alabama act that way. You're really not seeing Georgia act that way. So Ohio State is acting among the true blue bloods, in the sense of, if you want to go get a big paycheck, go to Lubbock. Don't come to Columbus.
And also, think about it. If you're a fan and you're complaining about this, you are a fan of the Ohio State University. They put a "the" in front of it for a reason. Stood the test of time. Ohio State's win percentage is by far better than anyone else over time. All right? Unless you exclude like the first, 50 years of college football. So settle down. We are allowed to pick and choose. We're not reaching, right? We have a program built. We just need to add to it to keep the momentum going. And guess what? All these schools spending that money up front, they're not going to have it when the portal comes next season. They're going to blow all that cash. And like you said before, we got to treat this as an entity like an NFL roster now, right? Your descriptions on that we've talked about before are awesome, because you have to save some of that cap room basically for the next time around. And you got to invest in the players that you know are good and that you want to keep. And that's what Ohio State did last year. That's what Penn State seems to be doing this year. And I think that approach is what wins national titles. Absolutely.
And it's a great analogy as you're seeing with the schedule and records and playoffs and everything really morphing into this NFL approach. I think you're also seeing it with the really smart universities, your Ohio States, your Georgias, and others, where you're not paying that initial person up front. And the same philosophy applies in the NFL, where if you look at free agency in the NFL, you don't see a lot of elite players make it to free agency. You see a lot of fringe players, a lot of good players, but you don't see a lot of great players making it to free agency, because NFL teams, I know you have the first round, you have the rookie wage scale, but once they get past that, they're getting extended by their current team if they're any good at all. So NFL teams save their salary cap space for that second round of contracts for their rookie draft picks, and they retain their talent. You're seeing that same approach with Ohio State, where they're saying, okay, you're going to get paid a little bit as a freshman. We're not going to pay you top dollar like some middle tier schools are going to pay you, but we'll pay you good starting out. And then you come in and you prove yourself and you earn that sophomore paycheck. You earn that junior paycheck. And that's a very similar philosophy to the successful teams you see in the NFL, the Philadelphias, the Kansas Cities, the Baltimores. That's what they put their money in, is putting those big contracts on those rookies who are earning their second contract in the NFL. You're seeing a similar approach with the sophomores and the juniors at top tier universities.
Yeah, and I see it like the Patriots of old too. Like sometimes you don't need to go over those big ones, those standout stars, unless you really know they're the best of the best and you go get them. But those middle of the road guys, and by middle of the road, I mean middle of the road for the blue bloods, those high 4-stars are where you can really build a program. And then you can go supplement with those studs that want to transfer. The Ethan Onionwas of the world. Like he's going to be a first rounder. I mean, that was a guy we needed and we had the money to do it. All right. If you're going out and spending a bunch on a high school player who's unproven, you're not going to have the money to go get those guys to supplement the team that you need.
I agree. And you look at somebody like, Jameer Perez, right? Who's a 3-star talent who we just recently picked up. First off, you have no idea if he's going to be a 4-star, but you look at somebody like that and say, okay, we're going to get you a little bit up front, but you come in here, you bust your tail as a freshman. You may not start a ton of games, right? As a true freshman, but you come in, you practice hard, you earn it. We're going to pay you that sophomore year. We're going to pay you that junior year. And this is somebody right now sitting at a 3-star, could fizzle out completely, could be a first-round draft pick in 4 years. You have no idea. But
with that frame and being an Ohio boy, you absolutely take the chance on that. And that was a guy that they wanted. Listen, there was a lot of confusion with what happened with him. Like he wasn't getting the love. He got the love at Florida. And sometimes you get enamored. You're going to go, you're 18, 19, sometimes 17 years old. You're going to Florida. You're going down to Gainesville. Gainesville's a cool place to see. It's a cool stadium. They're showing you the love. You commit. And it's just like deer in headlights. You see everything. You're like, wow, this is awesome. But then you come back home, you talk to some people, and he's in that pipeline, that Glenville pipeline. And that pipeline, they have that rich history of going and making a name for themselves at Ohio State. And there's something to say about that. There's something to say when your mentor is Glenn Sr., and if he's there, like showing you the ropes, trying to talk to you about what life after football can be like, if you're a graduate of the Ohio State University, you might rethink things. But also, he talked a little bit about when he had an interview this week that he had that SEC body, and people were telling him that. So you have that in your head, like that's the SEC type of football, that defensive lineman that's over 300 pounds. I mean, we've had that. We just don't get that type of body type at Ohio State very often because there's not that many in Ohio. So chances are we got to go down south and bring someone up like that. We're going to use it, especially in Matt Patricia's defense. If you find a player, you're going to find a use for him, and you're going to get him in there. Like the Vince Wilfork. Like he's going to be that type of guy from the Patriots defense, and he's going to show me the money, man. I mean, he looks slimmed down. He's down to 330. He was at 360. And when Ohio State came in and gave him that offer, before that, they were like, yo, dude, you're going to have to lose some weight. You're going to have to fit in at Ohio State. And I don't think that was kind of a culture shock for him because Ohio State's on a different level. The blue bloods. So you can tell recruits, hey, you're going to have to do this, this, and this, or you're not getting that scholarship because there's other guys that will do it. And then you go to another university who's really trying to build a program. They're like, you know what? We'll take you. We'll take you right now. It doesn't matter. We'll worry about that later, trimming you down. You know what? Ohio State can say that. Get ready because you're going to have to be ready when you come in here as a freshman or when you sign early. You're going to have to come in here and be ready to roll. They got a good one. Jameer Perez is going to be awesome to watch. I love seeing those big dudes. Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson. It just reminds me of that. I can't wait. Jonathan Hankins, man. It's going to be awesome to see. We haven't had a big body like that on our defensive line for a while.
Yeah, and I applaud the kid because I'll tell you right now, dropping 30 pounds, even at 360s, it's difficult to do.
No joke.
And maintaining that weight, I can talk to a lot of Cleveland Browns fans with Juwan Jones. All Buckeye fans know him. The Browns have had a lot of trouble the last few years helping him maintain his weight because it's been causing – he's had back-to-back season-ending injuries, and they've had a lot of concerns about weight. So when you start creeping into that 330-plus range, keeping the weight off is extremely challenging. So it's good to see that this kid dedicated himself to that. And I think it's absolutely absurd, and it's clearly a bias being perpetrated by SEC or certain media members who favor the SEC about big bodies only being in the SEC. That's absolutely absurd. You know, you go look at Wisconsin, you go look at Iowa, you go look at Penn State or even Ohio State, big bodies along the offensive line, along the defensive line. There's a lot of talent, a lot of size there. I also say Oregon even, absolutely. Yeah. But you also say kids that are 330, I'd much rather seeing that kid playing in 45 degrees than 85 degrees in November. So I don't really know. Touché. I don't really know where people are talking about with that big body concept. The Big Ten certainly has big, fast, and strong, and we need to keep reminding everybody the last 2 national champions did come from the Big Ten. So,
yeah, and you know, speaking of the recruits of Ohio State, man, they're showing out. We got some dudes. Even if they're not ranked 5-star, they're going to be playing like 5-star, man.
But again, these rankings are right now. So everyone's got to slow their roll. You haven't even seen the senior year of high school football yet. And these rankings, they will change multiple times throughout September and even through December. So just because somebody's a 3-star today doesn't mean they don't put a good 5 games of tape together, especially at Glenville, and turn into a 4-star. Or a 4-star can turn into a 5-star and vice versa. So rankings right now, you really have to take with a grain of salt.
Yeah, especially some of our current recruits, commits at the 5-star challenge in Indianapolis, man. You got to take a look at DN Wilder. He's out of Gardena, California. Dude is just an absolute stud, tearing it up against the best of the best. And hopefully I get this video going because it is not streaming good on here now. So maybe the video is not going to work good, but he just absolutely tore it up. Beat the best of the best at this camp and beat him well. And then he goes against another one of our recruits, Sam Greer, who was showing out himself. See if this will get on there. And Sam Greer stands his own. Dude, Wilder's beating everyone over and over and over again. And then Sam Greer comes up, and everyone saw, if you're into recruiting or if you're into just watching football in general, you saw Sam Greer absolutely waste a dude. The dude stood up straight and he just dumped him. And that,
play that one more time, if you don't mind, please.
So this is Ohio State on Ohio State at a 5-star.
2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. He kept them for 3 seconds still engaged. So by the time he breaks through at 3 Mississippi, he's maybe starting his ascent on the quarterback. You're talking 4.5 seconds. So Greer did an amazing job.
Absolutely. And these are both Ohio State recruits, keep in mind. And they're both dominating against the competition, against everyone else.
You know what I want? I want them practicing
the guy that we didn't get
next 3 years, man. Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. And you know what? The guy who didn't do good, the one that took the money and went to Texas Tech. Stop complaining about dudes we don't get that are chasing the money, man. Because we want real dudes, right? We want a guy that wants to be at Ohio State, all right? And talking about paying these guys, we're going to bring in, you keep your friends close, you keep your enemies closer. So the Michigan writer, Mike Germanese, joins the show. The Enemy.
What's going on, buddy?
Man?
Good. How was everybody's summer?
Great.
Refreshing.
4th of July's over. It's time to start talking football. Forget about the summer. It's fall, man. I'm already switching tune. I'm ready for some football.
And don't listen to Steve's math. He was way off. It's 46 days till kickoff of college football. So
I don't expect him to know how to count. He's an Ohio State fan.
That is true.
46 days to the first game. All right, yeah.
To college football.
But it's 53 for Ohio State. That's the one that really matters. I mean,
there we go.
Before Ohio State comes, but who cares about the
You just had some fuzzy math there on the first week, on week 0, but that's all right.
That's not week 0.
People don't listen to us for the math, man. They don't listen to us for the math.
So what we got to talk about is the pillars. Like, Matt, just introduce what the pillars are, and then we'll let Germany's go into it. What are the pillars of payment for players these days?
Yeah, so Mike, I definitely want to get your perspective on this. You're a little bit more dialed in than we are, but as we're kind of hearing the House settlement, House versus NCAA settlement, and you're talking about paying, universities not paying players. We had talked back, it must have been maybe 4 months ago or so, it's still about the pay to play concept. And
Yes.
I kept telling Steve that, I don't really see this House settlement as a whole changing the conversation that we had 4 months ago. And when you're looking at the landscape of college football and paying athletes, you're still looking at it from three separate pools of money or three separate pillars. I look at it as universities now have $20.5 million that they can disperse to any and all athletes of their choosing.
Yes.
I want to put a pin in that one because I think Title IX is going to get in there eventually. But right now we haven't heard much about Title IX around that. So
I think there's already 1 or 2 lawsuits already filed.
Yeah, that's inevitable. But so I look at that as one pool of money that athletes collegiately could get paid from. I look at the second pool of money, which is what really is one of the results of the House settlement, which is the NIL. And NIL, when you really break it down, is name, image, and likeness. And they're talking about utilizing Deloitte as kind of the pass-through of the sniff test of making sure that any and all deals that come from businesses or corporate entities kind of gets flushed through Deloitte, gets verified and confirmed. And we'll stick to that in a little bit. But I'm also looking at a third pillar, which we talked about quite a bit, which is still the concept around pay to play. So right off the bat, when you look at those three different avenues for collegiate athletes to get paid, is that still accurate today?
I think it's going to be. It shouldn't be the way this is set up. There should only be two. There should be the universities, and it shouldn't even be called NIL no more. It should be called what every professional gets, endorsements, instead of NIL. That's what it's
the name's here to stick. I mean, everything's going. It's just
it's the only reason it was NIL is because there was the shadiness of collectives just paying it, and they kind of hid it in NIL. Because NIL was nothing more than the fans paying the salaries of the players, whereas the schools are going to pay it now. And the third parties are for them to maximize their value. But this is college football. Cheating has always been part of it. And then
coming from the Michigan, man, you got to talk about that.
Listen, every program, if you win, you cheat. It's just part of it. You do something a little bit shady or past the line, maybe not as much as Michigan, but enough that you're getting an advantage from it. And it's always part of college. College, soon as you make a rule, there's 30 schools looking to bend it or break it, and how they're going to do it.
And how are we going to bend it and break it this way? We talked about this earlier, me and you off air. I
think the first thing you're going to see is what Matt was talking about is Deloitte has to approve anything of $600 or more. What stops a collective giving one player $80 or $1,599 deals?
I wouldn't even go to that level. Let's just stay with the fact. Let's just look at Bryce Underwood again. Everything's on the up and up there, but we know those real numbers. The $10 million going to Bryce Underwood.
Yeah.
There is nothing that happened as a result of the House settlement that changes that deal. And I'm not talking about it being grandfathered in. I'm talking the next Bryce Underwood in the next recruiting cycle could still theoretically get that exact same deal that Bryce Underwood got. Is that true or false?
Technically, no. What's going to happen, though, is somebody's going to fight it. Because technically, it's going to have to go through the clearinghouse, right? And there's going to have to be – did it come from a legitimate company? From the thank you, no, it didn't. But if it said Oracle and you put he's going to do this, this, and this on it, then it becomes, well, it's a legitimate endorsement contract.
Yeah, but let's break that down a little bit further. So I'm the new CEO of Oracle. I'm not paying $10 million for some kid to represent my company, right? I'm just not. It's not, it doesn't make good business sense. Shareholders would be fuming. Nothing about that is practical. But if Larry Ellison or the household of Larry Ellison wants to pay somebody out of their own pocket $10 million, well, God bless you. That's capitalism. It's America. So there's a difference there between what does Dr. Pepper pay Quinn Ewers to be in a commercial versus the household of Larry Ellison paying Bryce Underwood. Both, in my opinion, are perfectly legal, but that's where what does a corporation fair market value pay an athlete to endorse their product versus an individual who is a billionaire just shelling out money?
See, I think the thing is that's why they got rid of that fair market value word. When it finally settled, that word's not, fair market value is not in there.
Nor should it be.
I was reading more into this, so there is not a lot of rules for enforcement ironed out yet.
They can't.
And that is where they're going to have the issues. Like there's got to be negative consequences of just ignoring the SCS or CSC.
The best way I could describe this is going to be like the first year of the playoff. You're going to see a lot of bumps and bruises and hiccups because I don't think they have quite the idea of how they're going to do this yet. Because the first time a player gets told no, he's running to
a lawyer.
100%. Now, the question's going to be, yes, he can go get the money he wants, but does that give the school the right to play him?
So that's not ironed out yet. So that's why we started out with this pillar concept.
Yeah.
Because people are bleeding these things together, and they're not bled together. They're individualized. So what Ohio State University, they have $20.5 million they can pay to athletes, anybody, lacrosse, synchronized swimming, football, whatever they want. That is all above board, $20.5 million, probably going to run through their payroll system. That's one aspect. The second,
it's actually down to 18.5 at Ohio State. And yes, Andrew Anderson, there is a Buckeye bias always.
Yeah, it's Buckeye backers. But then the second pillar with the NIL is again looking at what is a business entity going to pay this kid to represent their brand. There's always going to be a limit there because you're talking about a business, right? A car dealership in Columbus, a car dealership in Ann Arbor. There's only so much they can pay them through the business, right?
Well, yeah, and it's going to depend.
Going to be successful.
It's going to depend on
Quinn Ewers $10 million to be in a Dr. Pepper commercial. That doesn't make good business sense.
It's going to depend on the company, how big they are, who they are. If you're talking Geico, yeah, if they're going to pay 2 or 3 quarterbacks, no one's going to say nothing, right?
But it's going to be a logical amount. It may be 500,000. Like it's going to be realistic because they're going to say, listen, we want to market off your name, image, and likeness, but we don't care what school you play for. We just like that you're a big time quarterback. There's no bias there.
Yeah, 100%.
They want the marketing rights.
Yeah.
But then where does pay to play? So this is where I get caught up because the Supreme Court has ruled you can't limit their earning potential. So
no, you listen, you're right, you can't. But the way I read it is, yes, you can limit their earning potential, but that doesn't give them the right to play for one of these schools under this new settlement. Because these old schools have to agree to play by these settlement that the judge has laid out.
All the Power 4 schools, make that clear.
Yes.
All the Power 4 schools signed on to this.
All the Power 5 schools. Because the Pac-12 but the Pac-12 is included in this.
So whatever. They're not going to make enough money for it to matter anyway.
You can pay their athletes $20.5 million. You're subjected to the rules, regulations, and enforcements of the CSC. NIL deals have to be signed and can be approved as legitimate business deals for an athlete or an endorser. Schools have to sign a document. It's already said they don't know if that's going to be legal, that they waive the right to fight the CSC. And then the student athlete is responsible for submitting anything over $600. The school is supposed to find out who the payer is and identify and the intent. And then you can have the multi-year contracts.
So how is this beneficial? How is this beneficial for, let's say, Ohio State to get rid of their collective, bring it all in-house?
I don't think it is. Oh, for in-house? Because I think by bringing it in-house, you don't have to worry about it going south without you knowing.
Yeah, it's
correct. Yeah. Having control.
Because I think USC did it. I think Tennessee did it. I think
Georgia did it.
UCLA did it.
I think today it was announced, or yesterday.
All the schools are going to do it. Because by the sounds of it, what they're going to do is they're not going to hold the player responsible. They're going to hold the school responsible.
Yeah.
Well,
so, which is interesting.
I think a great example, if you go back to the UNLV case from last year, right? UNLV's 4-0, and their quarterback, Salka, basically says, hey, I was told by a coordinator I was promised X amount of dollars. I haven't received that. I'm going to go sit out and transfer. I look at this new situation of saying the schools want to understand the terms of any agreement that's been laid out, so that somebody can't come back and say, oh, I was promised $2 million. They can say, no, you're not. We were all sitting at the table. You were promised $1 million. You're getting your $1 million.
I think too, Ohio State's being smart about it, because what you're going to eventually have is things like National Signing Day are going to be gone. This whole hat flip or these big videos, because you can't offer these many kids, and all of a sudden, if you get 2 or 3 surprises, have no money for them at the end.
Well, and you can't have a kid like flip at the last second, and then I got $2 million. I can do whatever I want with it now. What do you do? You got to be able to plan on that. So they're going to sign their contracts and keep them probably, and then know what to do with the rest of it after, the individual signs.
Okay, it's like you guys were talking about these recruiting rankings, right? Even take the class rankings. In 5 months from now, maybe not 5, 2 months from now, everything's going to be changed, because a lot of these players are going to start flipping.
Yeah. So all that wasted money that you throw up front, there's not contracts now. That's the other thing that I think is going to be beneficial about the way things are changing, because it can be a multi-year contract. It can be a single-year contract. If you have it in-house, you have the in-house lawyers also to look things over, so that you can make sure the deal's structured correctly. And then you also get the payback by it's going to limit the transfer portal window, because you're going to have to pay the schools the remainder of the contract to get the player.
Teams who have been very focused on the portal, I think, are going to find this very difficult now.
Absolutely.
Because players aren't going to head to it. Because you're going to have, I don't know if they're doing it yet, but from when I read it, if they're not, it's coming. It's going to be the buyout that coaches have. So if you're going to give a guy $1 million, he has $1 million buyout, and you have him for 3 years, and he wants to enter the portal, with these new rules, no one's going to go and touch him. It's going to cost you $2 million a year.
Yeah.
Just to grab him. So it's going to be very.
But you're not going to have the big time transfers. You're still going to find the guys, the diamonds in the rough from smaller schools. For example, Ethan Oniawa coming from Rice. Like, he's not going to have a huge contract at Rice, but you're going to be able to go pick that guy up, and that's going to be the most important kind of recruiting strategy for the portal.
It's still going to limit the amount of guys. It's still going to limit, because I think it counts against your cap too, as guys that you have leave.
But like you said, like, this is not ironed out. There's going to be lawsuits. This is nowhere near a done deal.
Well, you got right away. You're going to have Title IX.
Title IX, yeah.
Then you got NIL gold lawsuits right off the bat. Then you got different states making different rules that contradict what the House settlement said. So then you're going to see how those are going to play out. And finally, you're going to have, when the CSC finally catches a program, you're going to find out if these schools are actually buying in or if they're not.
Yeah.
Because when you have somebody who's making $8, $10, $12 million a year, and they need to save their job, and it might mean bending a lot of these rules, you're going to find out how much they're willing to go in and how much they're willing to cooperate. The FBI couldn't fix it. The NCAA couldn't fix it. you guys remember college basketball? We have your playbook for Adidas and all this stuff. And that went out the window. This is just going to be the next one. The question is, are people going to buy in and be willing to change the culture of college football?
That's what I'm scared about, because it worked. The free-for-all worked for the Big Ten at least the last 2 years. And that was – the Big Ten has a lot of money. They always have. They always will, just to have large schools with large alumni bases, with a lot of well-to-do people, right? If you get better schools breed better payouts as far as their alumni is concerned. So it's been working. It worked for Ohio State. I'm worried that if you change it, then some schools, especially those down south, will have a better opportunity at loophole, which brings me to bringing in the LSU writer for college football backers, Cody. What's up, my man?
What's up, boys? How y'all doing?
Cody,
Yeah,
long time
not
no see,
bad.
brother. How's everything?
I'm here. I'm alive.
So, like, give us just a little bit of perspective, anything that you've been hearing from down in the south part of the United States, that SEC country, about what this sounds like, the House settlement to SEC fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're on the right track to getting this thing squared away. I still think they're way far off.
Sure.
Just from the LSU side of things, they're really hoping to get third-party NIL going quickly, because right now LSU is looking at a deficit, whether we like it or not. They already said that it could be by fiscal year 2027 before they're even squared away moving forward. So
And they're
all of these,
recruiting well this year.
yeah, absolutely they are. And you know, the one big thing that I took away from what I've done on some research is that what really kind of pushed everything to where we're at right now was the Bryce Underwood situation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew obviously it would catch some attention, but I didn't realize it would be the main piece to kind of push this to where we're at. But it seems like there was no issue with distributing the $13.5 million allocated to football. All that's fine and dandy. You know, LSU is pushing for sponsorship patches.
That one was a big hurt for LSU because Bryce Underwood was going to go there.
Yeah. I mean, fully committed,
deal there.
ready
and
to
then
go.
Michigan came back and was like, "Yo."
Now, do you think they're going to do the
Here's the
sponsorship
first.
patches?
I hope they do. I think patches would be great. They wear them in the bowl season. I don't see a problem with it, as long as it, like, pretty much like
Why not?
everybody LSU
I mean, you
saying,
have them on the field.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying, you know, they don't want to be like NASCAR and have, you know, a logo all over their jersey, but, you know, just like one good patch, why not? I mean, I'd love to see a Raising Cane's logo on an LSU jersey.
I mean, you see it in baseball, you see it in basketball, nobody bats an eye at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
it's going to happen. I mean, it is just a matter of time. There may be one or two schools that are going to hold out, like the traditional uniform at Penn State, or maybe Notre Dame or Alabama, maybe, because they hold on to that tradition.
You're going to see that. You're going to see advertisements on the field. You're going to see advertisements on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see the stadiums change names. Guys are going to sell the naming rights. There's going to be a lot of things going on, because there's a lot of schools that need to figure this out.
But I'm glad you brought up Bryce. I want to get back to Bryce Underwood, because I look at this case as kind of the test case of all of this, where everything Bryce did right now is all fair and up and up. But we're neglecting the fact that when we move forward with this, let's just go next season, a 5-star recruit. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, this 5-star recruit, you got an LSU, a big booster at LSU, that comes out publicly and says, I will pay $5 million a year for this big-time recruit to come to LSU. And everyone's like, no, you can't do it. It's not part of the NIL. The $20.5 million has already been divided up. We can't do it. You're looking at the mother of all lawsuits with that happening. So we're ignoring the elephant in the room here is any billionaire donor that wants to pay $5 million.
You can't say elephant when you got an LSU fan on here.
Yeah, well, we all hate Bama. It's good. We're all we all hate Bama. But how are we going to overcome that? Because when this kid says, listen, I want to go to LSU and get $5 million, but NIL and all these other things are telling me I can't, they're going to go hire the best lawyer in the country, and they're going to sue the living daylights out of everybody. So we haven't solved any problem here.
And that's what's going to take. The lawsuits will iron everything out, and you'll see, what the
Listen. Everybody knows
1 year, year, and the lawsuits were already fly.
Everybody knows where this is leading.
Mm-hmm.
Where?
To a collective bargain agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows it's going there. Even I think the Big 12, in the one piece I read, I think it was the guy from the Big 12 said it. There's been guys from the SEC, Big 10 have all said it. It's heading there. The only thing they're waiting for is for the players not to be deemed employees, because the schools don't want to be responsible long term for what happens to some of these kids.
Yep.
So, question:
You're talking unionizing. Right. You're basically talking unionizing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They all said that's what's going to fix this. They just don't want to do it yet.
So Seattle.
Ooh. I mean, that's a slippery slope from a university perspective. You're talking you're talking healthcare benefits. You're talking ancillary benefits. You're talking
no, you're not.
You're talking a lot of
you're talking NASCAR looking uniforms if that happens.
Yeah,
but
that's a
they're
slippery
trying
slope.
to do it without them being deemed employees. That's what the whole Congress and meeting with the Senate and everybody else that they've been meeting, because they're trying to figure out a way to do it without them being deemed employees.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, if I'm a tight end from Eastern Michigan, and the thousands of kids that meet that criteria who's saying, well, I break my leg and I don't have a good NIL and I don't have good health benefits and I'm a senior, you're going to look at 8,000 kids in college football who are never going to go pro, never going to sniff it, never making NIL deals. They're going to want to unionize because they want the healthcare benefits. They want the ancillary benefits. So we're talking the Bryce Underwoods, the Julian Sayans of the world. That's not the majority.
No, but that's the whole thing they're trying to figure out, is how to do it without having that.
I think if you do
it, you'd even heard Nick Saban bring it up
in the
once.
Power Four, that's where they break away. If it gets to that point, you're just going to have major college football in a different kind of system than the rest of college football. It's just not feasible, right? Let's talk. Let's get away from this. We've talked enough about player payment. We're not going to solve it tonight. Let's talk about football. Each of us, give us the pick. Who wins the national title preseason right now?
LSU.
Everything you know.
It's LSU.
All right. Cody's
I'm
got
all
LSU.
in. And that's unbiasedly, I'm saying it this year.
Why? What do you got?
I got to pull up your schedule right now.
The reason I am so high on this team is the fact that they might be the deepest team I have ever seen at LSU. I'm talking about with depth-wise. Like, looking at 2019, obviously you had the playmakers. They were completely loaded. But this team, you have 3 deep that can step in at any given moment, and they would be fine. And I've never felt that
helps
with them.
On Bobby Kelly.
I mean, Brian Kelly is the piece
James
of that.
Franklin of the SEC.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, he's the one that he's been so close, but yet so far away all these years. I think with what he has coming back this year, this is the year that if he does not get it done, he will be an official running joke forever.
He kind of has to, because after you make a comment, you can't win at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame plays for a national championship, and you haven't won an SEC championship yet.
Yeah,
it kind of makes it kind of hard. And
Absolutely.
then Notre Dame sits in front of you in the recruiting rankings at this point. Makes it even worse.
Mr. Hot Seat wins a national title.
I gotta hear this. So if LSU goes 9-3 and they don't make the playoffs, Brian Kelly still has his job. Yes,
still has his job. Yes.
Really?
That is why you're not winning.
Then that's why you guys. That's embarrassing. I'm sorry, that's embarrassing,
man.
Now, if this is next year and he does it again, then that's a totally different conversation. But I think he's safe this year.
What year
I'm
is
looking
he
at your schedule.
This will be year 4.
You're at Clemson. You got Florida State. You're at Ole Miss, A&M. You're at Bama. You got Arkansas, and then you finish the season at Oklahoma. That's a brutal schedule, man. 9-3 is pretty good with that schedule. I don't know. 9-3 may not get you in the playoffs.
If they went 9-3, that's a bad year for them. I'm fully
I
confident.
would
in that.
agree. That's
All
a
right.
tough schedule, man.
Germany's. Who you picking? Don't pick Bryce Underwood. Don't you do that. Not on this show.
I'm gonna go Oregon.
Oregon.
Interesting.
I just think Lanning gets it done.
With what quarterback?
Oh shit! Now you put me on. I forget his name. The kid from
Dante Moore.
Dante Moore.
All right.
I watched him because he was from the state of Michigan. I watched him a couple times in high school, and then I watched him on a team from UCLA with no talent. And there was moments he looked great, and they had no one. You had him sit under Dan Lanning for a year, and now he gets to go in and take the reins. And even though they lost one of their wide receivers, they got a lot of talent. Lanning's been recruiting good.
All right. I have a problem. I got two. So you each get a backup. So, Cody, we'll start with you. Someone else to fill in if LSU doesn't win it.
Ohio State. And I'm not saying that because I'm on this show. That's just let's just be real. It's hard to say no to the defending champions.
Okay.
I will.
Mike?
I would go. I'm going to go Ohio State just because I can't say Penn State because I don't trust James Franklin.
That's
Okay.
fair.
But I would think it'd be either Ohio State or Penn State.
All right. Seattle, you want to go or you want me to?
No, I'll save the best for last. You can go.
So
I was giving you a compliment, man. If you want to jump in, I'll be last. That's fine.
all right. I just assumed that you had the best. So
No, I got nothing. I'll go.
I'm going. All right.
What?
I got Clemson, number 1,
Whew.
and Penn State, number 2.
Yeah, I think on paper,
You have
I think
quarterbacks
Penn-
coming back, and spare me that Drew Aller because I think Drew Aller is great. I think he's never had receivers. He's got receivers coming in this year. Kyron Hudson, they got at a USC, balled out against LSU, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had a game against LSU.
Here's-
Then they brought in that Troy transfer, and who was that guy from Syracuse they got too? They got the Sun Belt Player of the Year, I believe, from Troy, and then I can't remember the guy from Syracuse that they got, but stud. So they got 3 stud receivers on the team, someone to throw the ball to. They got those running backs coming back, and they stacked it like last year. They got a lot of talent coming back. I can't remember their returning production, but it was pretty hot too.
Here's my problem with Penn State.
James Franklin, yeah, I get it.
Can you trust them to win 4 straight games? Because they're the only team I think that plays Oregon and Ohio State. Now, Oregon's a whiteout. So you figure even if with James Franklin,
Even
what
with
is
2
he?
losses.
So he gets in. Even with 2 losses, he gets in. Are you going to trust them to beat 4 top 10 teams in the course of a month and a half?
No,
I think they go 1-1 in that Oregon Ohio State.
I think
win
he's
one of those.
2-10. Even if he gets to the semifinal and final, he'd have to be 2 top 5 teams. He's only beat 2 in 10 years.
You just have to have that team full of experience. If the last 2 years haven't showed you, then you haven't been paying attention. Experience is what's dominated now. Because the portal and everything has changed the market, how we play the game, and other teams are trying to fall back on that model. Michigan started it bringing everyone back. Ohio State brings everyone back. Penn State's now bringing everyone back, supplementing with the portal. I really gotta go with Penn State.
I 100% agree with you.
It would be great for the Big Ten. It would actually make it so that you can't say second without SEC because they've been second for 3 years in a row. I think that it's time to start talking.
If the Big Ten wins it again, SEC minds would blow up.
Oh yeah,
Paul Feinbaum would disappear. He would join.
His ears would shrink.
He would join Lee Corso on a boat in retirement.
Oh man, don't bring in Lee Corso. Fine man.
I don't know. I just don't.
Buckeyes, by the way,
I agree with you so much about the Penn State team. It's just James Franklin would do something to cost that team a win, and I like James Franklin.
What was Day's record against the top 10 prior to this season? It was like 1-5 or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think that's what it was actually.
And then he just got 4 this year. So he's making himself he made himself a lot better.
He got
so
5
his record
this year.
improved.
He got 6 this year. They
7
won
if you
6.
count them beating themselves against Michigan.
Which I can't, but they got 6. They beat Penn State, Indiana, Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame. He had 6 top 10 wins.
Oh, no, he said top 5, not top 10. I think we're talking top 5.
Top 5 would have been Penn State.
I said top 10, but that's still whatever.
Oh,
would have been Penn
Either
State,
way.
Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame.
So if James Franklin goes and wins 4 or 5 this year, so he'd have to get one of Oregon or Ohio State. That's probably a top 10 win, right?
Yeah.
And then goes 4 in the playoffs. That's 5 extra games. You can turn that around real quick.
Oh, 100%. And I kind of hope he does it because I like James Franklin. And I would love to see 3 Big Ten teams go back to back to back in the national championship.
And different ones. Yeah. I think that's what made the SEC special there for a little while, because that name recognition you have when Auburn did it not too long ago. I mean, yeah, it's been a while, but you had those 2 years in 2006 and 2008. You have Auburn, and then you have Alabama going off, and then you have Georgia getting 2 years in a row. So you have a multitude of different teams. LSU, sorry, I forgot to even mention them. So you have a multitude of different teams winning it. So you have that name recognition you get that for 10 years. Like you kind of live off that national championship hype for a good 10 years. And then it's like, all right, you're starting to fizzle out. Now, all of a sudden Auburn's no good, but they're still considered kind of good because they've won.
Well, you still get that. It's like you say, you still get that name recognition. You hear Auburn, you're like, oh, they're good. They haven't been good for a long time, but you automatically hear that name and you're like, oh,
they're New Mexico State good. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But that's what I'm thinking of. You get different teams 3 different years, then you're thinking, oh, Michigan's a good team always. Ohio State's a good team always. Penn State's a good team always, and good enough to win national titles. That's been the big problem with the Big Ten for years. They're not good enough to win national titles. They have good teams. They're not the best of the best.
Well, I think the NIL is kind of leveling the playing field now.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's actually hurting the SEC. And I've talked about this before because of that one transfer portal window where SEC can't recruit other SEC schools, right?
Yep.
Ohio State's doing that. They're going out and getting the Max Clairs of the world.
That's the spring one, right?
It's the spring one, yeah.
If you transfer in the spring, you got to sit out a year if you go to an SEC team.
Yeah. And that is a completely backwards approach. I've never seen the SEC do anything to just cut themselves, at the nutsack like that before in my life. That's horrible. Because then the rest of the country's poaching the SEC, but they have to go to the rest of the country to get it. They can't, build team off team. And I get the premise behind it. You don't want to attack member schools, but you're just killing yourself if everyone else is doing it.
The good news is we'll be at one transfer portal, I think, after next year. So,
as it should be.
I think it should. Yeah, absolutely.
Right after.
So any other burning things about college football in general or Big Ten? Anything out of the SEC? Something that you want to say real quick before we end the show?
I mean,
burning desires.
I mean, I'm ready for media days. They've started to announce everybody that's going to be appearing, and which that's going to be a cluster, by the way. So during media days, it's going to be in Atlanta. That same week is also Major League Baseball's All-Stars game, as well as the Major League Draft taking place there.
Oh, wow.
So the traffic's already bad in Atlanta, but it's about to be really, really bad. But no, the names are announcing for media days. It's gonna be pretty fun to check out. I'm mainly looking forward to seeing UCLA's media day this year. See if they can bounce back from last year.
Oh yeah,
that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
We're from LA. If you don't know it, there's another school.
That was priceless being there to see the people's reaction.
Oh man,
when he walked off, it was like dead silence.
Oh yeah, when he
what
was
just
talking,
happened.
It was dead silence too. Man, I mean, he knew it. He was up there and was like, wow, I did not prepare for this. I should have known what to say.
I don't even think he cared, to be honest, at that point. He
was
like,
for sure.
Get me off this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to. He doesn't seem like the type of guy who likes to do that part of it.
We'll see. we'll see. You know, I mean, at least he wore the shirt. We're from LA. They had some fun with it. Vegas, you got anything, man? Any last burning desires?
Who's winning the national championship, Vegas?
Whew.
And if you don't know already, Seattle Matt used to be Vegas, so
Yeah, no, I get it.
He no longer dabbles in Vegas anymore, I don't think.
It's sad because I would say on paper, I think Penn State is the best team in college football. But I think Franklin cannot win big games. And until he proves otherwise, I don't know. I like Oregon. I'll be honest. I like you ain't gonna like this, Cody. I like Ryan Grubb back with DeBoer in Alabama. I mean, everyone. Yeah. I live in Seattle, man, so I saw that connection up here with Penix. Sure. They were untouchable, that combination. And last year, Grubb was the offensive coordinator with the Seahawks. So now you see them back together again. Don't know what the quarterback situation
looks more confident.
They're recruiting at a high level. Yeah, I don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be like at Bama, so that's obviously a big factor. But I like that combo together. I think Oregon is sneaky good, but I think Dan Lanning gets a pass that James Franklin doesn't, because Dan Lanning doesn't win big games either. He wins a conference championship here and there. He's got to prove that he can start winning playoff games with that level of talent. So I'd probably go with a combination of those three, depending on how their coaching situations play out. Other than that, I'd say too early to tell. Sorry, Buckeyes fans. I think it's really hard to replace 19 of 22 stars.
There's a lot of
experience,
It's really hard.
I mean, to be fair, though, if you have Jeremiah Smith to throw to, any of us could look like a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, we had Marvin Harrison to throw to, and we couldn't get the ball to him to save our lives.
Has there been this many first-year starting quarterbacks on big-name teams in 1 year? Where you got Georgia has a new quarterback, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Clemson's is back, Miami.
Miami's got back, though.
Yeah, I mean, but still, first year at Miami.
Because you're looking at the 26 NFL draft, and they're talking about it already being loaded with QB talent. Because you got Sellers at South Carolina, you've got Beck, you've got Aller, you've got Klubnik. A lot of people I'm hearing saying Manning's not going to come out at all. You got Nussmeier. Sorry, buddy, I didn't mean to miss Nussmeier. You're talking 5 guys I just listed there that are first-round draft picks. So you've got a lot of QB
you got a quarterback
in college football coming back.
It's different team, sure, than the usual suspects.
Yeah.
I got a couple things, man. People are kind of dogging Ohio State's offensive line, which goes to your point again. Ohio State does have Jeremiah Smith to throw to, but they also have receivers galore, the best tight end room in the history of Ohio State, probably the best wide receiver room in the history of Ohio State. You got Cardinal Tate, you got Ennis to throw to, and Ennis looked great in the Woody in those practices that I had seen. But also that offensive line, people are looking at like surface level, like paper level, and not actually diving deep into what Ohio State's offensive line is. They had starters that were out and fill-ins for all of the playoffs in that interior offensive line. All those guys are coming back. So they balled out against the best of the best, those top 10 ranked teams that they all played in the playoffs. And then they have an extra guy to rotate in there too. And if you're counting Phillip Daniels, who they brought in as well. So Austin Saraveld's going to start at right tackle. Ethan Onyeonwa is a beast. He's going to be a number 1 draft pick whenever he comes out, right? You have Carson Hinsman is probably going to be one of the best centers. They're going to be up there for the Joe Moore Award, and they're not getting the credit they deserve because of what it says on paper. If you go and look at Phil Steele's book that he put out, it's not returning production because they weren't starters all year long.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense. You got to dive deeper into that, and that's the thing about Ohio State's team. They had a lot of guys coming in. Also, at cornerback for Ohio State, they're loaded there in the DB room. Even though they had some people graduate, they're still loaded there, and it's going to be spectacular. It's just going to be awesome. Jermaine Matthews, he's going to be probably a number 1 draft pick, and a lot of people don't know his name yet. Buckeye fans do, but a lot of people don't. Germany.
I think
Any other thoughts?
I think people are just waiting to see what the Ohio State quarterback looks like.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch just to see,
It's
and
amazing.
also what the defense looks like with Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
I think Matt Patricia,
Gonna be
as much as I hate Matt Patricia, I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah,
Oh,
you would hate him.
yeah.
You
And-
Lions fan.
And I like his interviews. I like what he's saying.
He's saying all the right things. He's recruiting well,
He
and
seems
that's
like
what
he
matters in this time of the season.
He seems like he got his love for football back once he got back to college.
Absolutely. Different man. All right, boys. Well, thank you all for joining us. Go check out Mike Germany's with Mike Farrell Sports. I'm writing with Mike Farrell Sports too. Seattle Matt, thanks for coming in again. And Cody, thanks for joining us. Go check out. Cody, tell us a little bit about your podcast and where you're writing now.
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to be joining College Football Backers, start writing for you guys. I'm also going to be writing for Sunbelt Syndicate as well.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it just came up really recently.
Cool.
But no, my show is the Golden Broom Podcast. Not this Friday, but the following Friday, we'll be starting season 4. We're very excited about that. We're actually about to move to 6 shows a week. Yeah, well, it's not going to be live shows. It'll be one live show, and then we're going to record some mini episodes for YouTube. Something fun.
Oh, awesome.
And we're going to focus hard on interviews this year. We had a lot of baseball players on during this past season, which was probably the funnest 3-month span of podcasting I've ever done. And we're looking forward to carrying those relationships into the off season of baseball, as well as adding football to it again. So
very good.
A lot of fun. Looking forward to getting it out there. And a lot of work's going in right now, to say the least.
Awesome. Well, follow every show. Hey, if you're still listening, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the share. Give us some love at Buckeye Backers. We'll be back every Tuesday, 10 p.m. When the season starts, we always got the morning after show coming in. Seattle Matt on the West Coast wakes up early, bright and early just for that. So peace out. God bless. Thank you all, Big Ten backers, Buckeye backers, college football backers, all the backers. Thanks for joining us. Peace out. God bless.